Robert Frederick Carr, třetí, byl americký sériový vrah a pedofil, který zabil 3 děti a 1 ženu ve státech Florida a Connecticut v letech 1972 až 1976. Po zatčení byl odsouzen k doživotnímu vězení, které si odpykával až do své smrti v roce 2007. Tammy Ruth Huntley, 16, zmizela, když čekala, až ji vyzvedne její matka. Carr ji odvezl z Miami do Mississippi. 7. dubna 1972, poté co ji pohlavně zneužil během 10 dnů, kdy ji držel v zajetí v lese, ji uškrtil se slovy: "Zabil jsem ji, protože vypadala, jako by začínala být skleslá." A 13. listopadu 1972 vyzvedl 11leté přátele Todda Paytona a Marka Wilsona, kteří jeli stopem z North Miami Beach. Vnitřní zadní dveře v autě byly vyřazeny a kufr byl plný jídla, sklenic vazelíny a lopaty. Carr znásilnil chlapce a uškrtil Paytona. O 4 dny později Wilsona uškrtil, za což dostal dalších 20 let vězení. Po vraždách odjel do Mississippi a Louisiany a v každém státě pohřbil jednoho chlapce. Oba chlapci byli následně rodiči nahlášeni jako pohřešovaní, když se nevrátili domů. V roce 1973 byl Carr usvědčen ze znásilnění v Connecticutu, ale v roce 1976 byl podmínečně propuštěn. Po propuštění v Connecticutu zabil svou 4. a poslední oběť, 21letou Rondu Hollowayovou, než pohřbil její tělo ve venkovské oblasti. 30. května 1976 Carr pohlavně zneužil stopařku a pobodal. Během útoku policista metra narazil na auto a byl svědkem zneužití a zatkl Carra. Jakmile byl Carr u výslechu, překvapil detektivy tím, že se přiznal ke 4 vraždám, podrobně vysvětlil zločiny. Carr se spolu s detektivy Davidem Simmonsem, Charlesem Zatrepalkem a zástupcem soudního lékaře Ronaldem Wrightem vydal na dlouhou misi, aby našli těla. Carr dostal doživotní trest poté, co se přiznal, což znamená, že by byl ušetřen trestu smrti. Část trestu si odseděl ve státní psychiatrické léčebně, ale poté, co se zjistilo, že hromadí řezačky drátu a kleště, byl vyhozen. Poté začal posílat dopisy žalobci Edu O'Donnellovi, který na případu dříve pracoval. Dne 6. července 2007 Carr zemřel v Union Correctional Institution z nespecifikovaných příčin. V rozhovoru pro CNN jeho dcera uvedla, že zemřel na rakovinu prostaty.
When I got there, she was almost limp. How many days now are you? This was on the 10th day. 10th day? And then finally, this was the 7th of April. 7th of April? 7th of April. The night of the 7th of April. We pulled back. I pulled back up into that spot that we had used the most. And hid the car in the same fashion I always have. And she was laying there on the seat, and I started trying to talk to her. I tried to give her a drink out of the bottle. She just let it run down her back. She messed her pants. She peed in her pants. Everything she did was just without any. She was just laying it. And she wasn't there. I mean, everything, all back. Was she scared or she? I don't know what happened to her. I'm no doctor. I don't know what happened to her. She couldn't talk. She couldn't lift her hands. She couldn't do much of anything.
She wasn't injured?
No, I hadn't heard her. She just went into a nervous breakdown. Right? That's the only explanation I can give. I tried every way in the world for a couple of hours to fly around, and then finally I thought, gee, I think I'm gonna drop her out to the airport like that, I'll put her out, no way that she's going to make it. She might, you know. And I just didn't know what to do with her. Finally, I decided that I was going to have to kill her. It's the only way that I could see at that time to get around it. And I sat there and I took one little nip out of the bottle and I threw the bottle down. And I didn't want to do it. And I was aching inside because just a little while before that, she was all right.
So you finally decided you had to kill her. Why decided you had to kill her as opposed to let her go?
I couldn't see any way to let her go like that. But she couldn't even walk. I was like, what am I going to do with her? Where am I going to put her? Lay her on the sidewalk someplace? See, I mean, and I couldn't stand to see her in this condition either. I couldn't stand it. I did everything. I tried to comfort her, I rubbed and I caressed her hair, her temples, I did everything. I talked to her until I was blue in the face, and she just lay there, she didn't even work. And finally, I just picked her up, rolled her over, tied her hands behind her back.
How did you get the rope from?
I had the rope in the car. I got it out of the trunk. I put it back there during the time we were stuck. And I sat there for a long time, trying to figure out another way to keep from killing her. I thought. Then I tried to say, she'll be all right tomorrow, finally I said, no, something's got to be done, And I was sitting there, and it was about 11:30 by this time, 12 o'clock. And I still had her hands tied behind her back. I picked her up. I didn't want her to move her feet at all. I picked her up and leaned her over the seat. I had put the cooler up on the back seat so that it was even with the top of my back seat. Her head lay on that. She just lay there. She didn't try to move or anything. She was so limp that she weighed a ton and tried to pick her up and move her over something like that. She just, completely limp. Her eyes were open and she was moving her tongue a little bit. I took her and pulled her pants down and pulled them all the way down to her ankles to hold her feet, like a rope around there. And then I put my knees on the back of her knees and my ankles across those pants. Reached up and just put my hand in her hair and pushed her head down tight, grabbed her by the throat, started choking her. She gave almost no resistance. She went unconscious, like almost nothing. And then she held in until she was almost dead, and then I let her just drop down in the seat and I pushed her throat back and until she was dead. I couldn't look at her, I just turned my head. My head down against the chest one time to see if there was any heartbeat. There wasn't.
How did you grab her throat?
I reached up under her like this and grabbed this part of her throat.
Your fingertips or your hand or
With my whole hand like this and just squeezed it.
how long did you squeeze it?
On her about 4 minutes. But she was completely without heartbeat.
Why did you position her over the seat like that? So
I couldn't look at her and kill her. I could not do it.
Why did you feel it necessary to tie her hands behind her back?
I didn't know if she was going to struggle or not. I didn't know what was going to happen. I think if she had started to struggle, I would have stopped and checked her to see if there was some possibility that she was going to be all right. She didn't struggle. A little bit. One time she tried to push her legs out, and that was just before her heart stopped beating, and she didn't anymore.
Were you angry at this time?
No, I wasn't, and I was crying because I didn't want to have to kill her.
Were you sober?
Yes, I was sober. And I was just scared for her. I couldn't stand to see her in that condition. I don't mean to try to pull you in, but if you know how attached I got to that one particular, I think you know, to that one particular individual during the time that I was with her, there was no way that I wanted to kill her. I would have given anything just to know that she was alive today, and I would And this is why I confessed this whole thing. It was on her account. I confessed all of these crimes on that one girl's account. I want her mother to know where she is. And I want her father to know. It would be the one thing that Tammy would want on. If we closed the home.
Well, after she's dead, what do you do with her then?
Well, I pulled her out of the car and laid her beside the car. And I walked around and I was sweating. An owl was up in the tree and he was screaming his lungs out. I was trying to throw rocks at him to get him to leave. He wouldn't leave. He would sit up there and scream. He'd never screamed before. He always lived up there, but he never screamed, you know. And he was screaming to the top of his lungs and he screamed all night long. I cried. I did everything. I couldn't bring myself to dig the hole first. Then I went around, I looked at her, you know, and I come back and I just lay on the hood, stick it to my stomach. Finally, I said, I got a tire feet. I went over, I wrapped the rope around her feet, pulled her feet up to her hand. She was twisted the wrong way or something. I ran another rope in another direction. I don't know exactly how it was to pull her out in the right position. And then I just walked over the wheel and put my hands in the wheel and washed them. I lay there almost throwing up for probably another half an hour and crying, and I couldn't look at it.
What was on your hands and changes?
Nothing, just touch her. And then I come around and got the shovel, went out, you know, right in front of the car there was a place that I picked out just instantaneously then. And I dug the hole. It took me a long time. It was mud and clay and every other thing, real wet. And then I walked over to her and I just backed up to her and grabbed her hands and pulled her over to the hole and drug her around and dropped her in. And then I didn't look, I just started pushing the dirt back off my hand.
How deep a hole is it?
3.5 to 4 feet.
Is it the main section of the road or off the road, or
No, it's off the road. Well, it's off the road.
think you'd be able to find it again?
Yeah.
You gonna be willing to take us and show us where it's at?
Yes, I am going to take and show you where it's at.
What did you do after you buried her?
I stood outside of the car. After everything was over with, I stood outside of the car most of the night. That I overlooked the screaming. I just stood there and thought. I took all of her stuff out, put it in the trunk. And then I took the following morning, I left there and I just wanted to get away for a little while.
Can you sleep well at nights now?
Can I sleep well nights? No. I haven't slept well nights for years, and if you're asking me if the victims enter my sleep, they do, and I've had nightmares.
Do you think you can be rehabilitated?
I'm not asking the... Do I think I can be rehabilitated? Do you think I should answer that question?
Well, in your own mind, do you feel you could? Is there any help for Mr. Carr?
I'm not particularly worried about Mr. Carr, or whether he can be rehabilitated or not. I am more worried about other offenders who haven't reached the point that I'm at now, who haven't killed anybody yet, who in the future may very well kill somebody unless they do get help. And a great many of these people are in Connecticut.
Robert Andrew Berdella Jr. byl americký sériový vrah, který unesl, znásilnil, mučil a zavraždil nejméně 6 mladých mužů, poté co donutil své oběti snášet období až 6 týdnů zajetí. 29. března 1988 v 1 hodině ráno Berdella unesl svou poslední oběť, 20letého prostituta jménem Christopher Bryson, kterého nalákal do svého domu na základě slibu, že zaplatí za sex. V jeho domě byl Bryson sražen do bezvědomí železnou tyčí, poté přivázán k lůžku, kde byl vystaven podobným metodám zneužívání a mučení, jaké snášely předchozí oběti, ačkoliv v případě Brysona mu Berdella opakovaně vytíral oči čpavkem, než mu řekl: jediné, na co musíš myslet, si ty, já a tenhle dům. Po několika dnech Berdella Brysonovi vysvětlil, že svému zajatci začal důvěřovat a že ačkoliv je ochoten diskutovat o některých aspektech zneužívání a mučení, které se mu dostává, nebudou žádná jednání o jeho sexuálním zneužívání. Berdella ukončil tuto diskuzi přísným varováním. Už jsem se s jinými lidmi dostal tak daleko a teď jsou mrtví kvůli chybám, které udělali. Třetím dnem svého zajetí si Bryson vysloužil dostatečnou důvěru od Berdelly, aby ho přesvědčil, aby si po sexuálním zneužívání zavedl každodenní režim svazování rukou před sebou a ne k posteli nad hlavou pod záminkou, že tak omezoval oběh v jeho pažích. Také přesvědčil Berdellu, aby nechal v pokoji puštěnou televizi s dálkovým ovládáním umístěným mezi nohama, kdykoliv bude Berdella mimo místnost. Bryson později vyšetřovatelům řekl, že téměř neustále přemýšlel o útěku. Následující den se mu podařilo vymanit ze svých pout tak, že je propálil pomocí zápalek, které Berdella nechtěně nechal v pokoji a na dosah, když odcházel z domu do práce. Brysonovi se podařilo uprchnout z domu skokem z okna ve druhém patře a zlomit si kost na chodidle. Rozběhl se k muži, který šel po druhé straně ulice a křičel, aby zavolal policii. Muž vedl Brysona k domu, ke kterému se blížil. Obyvatelé zavolali policii, která dorazila o několik minut později. Bryson, který byl na místě vyslýchán 4 policisty, zpočátku tvrdil, že stopoval, když ho unesl Berdella, který ho znásilňoval a mučil 4 dny, než utekl skokem z okna ve druhém patře nemovitosti. Berdella ho po většinu času držel přivázaného k posteli ve druhém patře domu, opakovaně ho sodomizoval, omámil ho a píchal mu do krku čistič kanalizace, aby snížil jeho schopnost hlasitě mluvit. Když Bryson mluvil, policisté si také všimli, že kromě obojku a zlomené nohy měl Bryson červené, oteklé oči a viditelné jizvy a šrámy po celém těle. 2 důstojníci byli požádáni, aby udržovali diskrétní dohled nad nemovitostí. Bryson byl převezen na ošetření v doprovodu 3. důstojníka, zatímco 4. policista zavolal na policejní oddělení Kansas City, aby požádal o formální povolení k prohlídce nemovitosti. Při prohlídce domu a pozemku odhalili vyšetřovatelé lidskou lebku uvnitř skříně ve druhém patře a částečně rozloženou lidskou hlavu na dvorku. Prohlídka také odhalila několik lidských obratlů, zjizvených jak pilou na železo, tak stopami po noži uložených v chodbě a několik lidských zubů uložených ve 2 obálkách. Berdella se přiznal a byl odsouzen k doživotnímu vězení bez možnosti podmínečného propuštění. Zemřel na infarkt, když byl uvězněn ve státní věznici v Missouri v říjnu 1992.
Mr. Berdella, you're sitting here as a man who's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. You've confessed to murder of 6 young men in this city and crimes that horrified the city and much of the country. You've confessed to, in various degrees, felonious restraint, drugging people, sexually abusing them, torturing them, killing them, dismembering them. And until now, you've refused all interviews. So in light of all those facts, I have to ask you, why are you here? What is it you have to say to us? What is it you want to say about yourself in this case?
Well, I've had the media clamoring to get interviews with me. And after I made my last pleas, I wanted to get at least part of my side of it out. I found it very hard to find any way to do that in Kansas City. The media has so biased my case, portraying me as being non-human, and their motivation is no separate from the way I treated my victims. I treated them as something less than human, nothing more than a play toy or not a play object. This is what the media has done to me. It's dehumanized me so that it can believe, along with the public, that things like human sacrifice, Satanism, demonic practices are more believable than me being the neighbor next door who reached a point in his life where he could do monstrous acts. That's not the same thing as being a monster.
When you came to plead, called your crimes wantonly vile, horrible, or inhuman.
When was this done?
I believe in documents associated with the Sheldon charges. To repeat that quote from the prosecution, these crimes were wantonly vile, horrible, or inhuman.
Okay. I think if you check with just about any attorney, you'll find that that is the standard clause that's used when they went to build a case for Capital One with the death penalty.
Without the legalism, would you agree that those crimes are wantonly vile or inhuman?
I won't disagree.
Another report was that you kept detailed torture logs and diaries. Did you?
I kept sheets of paper that I had made some notations on. This is between the mattress and springs on my bed. This is one of those packages containing numerous photographs and what became to be known as meticulous, methodical diaries. Those pieces of paper in there are these meticulous diaries.
These are the pictures of the more than 200 photographs, some of them of young men, sexual partners, and these are in some ways, and these that we see here are the sheets of paper upon which you made notes.
Right.
See.
This is a copy of one of those pages.
It looks like a loose leaf paper. It does contain information about amounts of drugs and so on. So what is your complaint with the police calling these detailed diaries?
By your evaluation, does this look methodical?
Doesn't look methodical.
Meticulous?
It looks a little sloppy.
They are not bound in Corinthian leather, written on parchment diaries that the media apparently tries to describe them as. They're sheets of paper. They're notes.
How did you feel when you learned that not long after your arrest, the local radio stations, two of them at least, were running a Bob Berdella parody song and were asking people to come to parties wearing dog collars?
Well, I think the newspaper article reported that even the families of the victims were upset by the song. I have never had a chance to hear the song. I had also been told when I first came into jail that the Fox radio station had run a promo giving prizes to their listeners if they showed up at the station in a dog collar and with a leash on. The people here in the institution, the correctional officers, the caseworker, even the psychiatrist, were, I think, surprised to find out that that upset me.
And it did upset you?
Very much so.
You recall we mentioned before that there were reports in the Westport flea market where you had your shop that people would say, oh yes, I do remember he had these strange smelling dishes of food, that he had bead bones. And later on there were speculations, at least in the community and in some aspects of the media, that the remains of your victim were somehow being transported and prepared as meals and prepared as jewelry in your shop.
I was quickly able to identify to the police the other dealers in that section of the market where we rotated potluck. rather than eat the flea market food again. And that you could question any of these people, and they'd be able to tell you that the food was good. There was nothing suspect about the turkey or ham or beef that was in these dishes.
You said, I want the police to explain why they allow the loved ones of families to die in the convenient area of 10th and McGee.
I don't think any family of my victims or anybody else that has been killed down related to 10th and McGee are going to be happy to find out that their loved one is basically written off by the police as far as investigations go, etc., because they died in a convenient neighborhood. The police knew what was going on, so it's no big deal.
And that accounts for your remark to me, and I don't mean at all to make light of it, that I killed 6, but they, the police, by allowing this to stay open, they killed more.
Yes, this has been something that's been going on for over 20 years, to my knowledge.
It seems to me that you're suggesting that had the police done their job, had they followed the leads, had they really been on your case prior to April 2nd, 1988, they would have caught you, and some of this suffering could have been prevented.
Maybe not caught me. Scared me off, maybe. Prevented things from happening after how? Definitely.
In a way, do you wish they had?
Yes.
Are you saying you feel remorse or that you've been misunderstood?
I'm not going to sit here with my finger to my chin and say nobody understands me. Yes, there has been a lot of remorse.
There was a report in the Sunday Kansas City Star in December about the dangers you might face after you leave the Jackson County Correction Facility and are moved to another larger prison. How do you feel about reports like that? Do they make you anxious?
They give me some reason for concern, but one of the reasons I'm concerned is that these were not just reports. These were digging out quotes from unnamed prosecutors implying that the inmates down there are waiting to get their hands on me. I am at this point less concerned about the inmates acting on their own as opposed to the inmates or an inmate acting in response to maybe some directive or coercion from some police officers.
You think you're being set up, perhaps?
Well, I think the Star and Times have, since they haven't been able to get a court to put me to death, are now trying to get the inmates to do it for them.
Richard Francis Cottingham, americký sériový vrah, který byl v New Yorku odsouzen za 6 vražd spáchaných v letech 1972 až 1980 a v New Jersey odsouzen za 12 vražd. Přezdívalo se mu díky médium Torso Killer a Times Square Ripper, protože některé z vražd, za které byl odsouzen, zahrnovaly zmrzačení.
Last winter, we told you about several especially brutal murders of alleged prostitutes here in New York. And so far, the murders have gone unsolved, but now there may be a major break in that case.
It was back last December that 2 carefully decapitated female bodies were found at a West Side motel. It's believed the women were prostitutes. The room was then set on fire. Then again in May, another reputed call girl was found mutilated and murdered. New York police believe it was the work of one man, and they released this composite sketch. Today, they announced they want a New Jersey man to appear in a lineup here in connection with those murders.
The man they want is 33-year-old Richard Cottingham, a Lodi, New Jersey computer operator, and right now Cottingham is being held on $350,000 bail in connection with the murder of an alleged prostitute at the Quality Inn in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey.
V časných ranních hodinách 22. května 1980 Cottingham vyzvedl 18letou prostitutku Leslie Ann Oddellovou, která obtěžovala na rohu Lexington Avenue na Manhattanu. Ubytovali se v Hasbrook Heights Quality Inn na pokoji 117. Cottingham nabídl Oddellové masáž a ona se převrátila na břicho. Obkročmo se jí posadil na záda, vytáhl nůž a přiložil jí ho ke krku, zatímco jí na zápěstí nasadil pouta. Začal jí mučit a málem jí ukousl jednu z bradavek. Později svědčila, že řekl, musíš to vzít. Ostatní dívky to vzali, ty to musíš vzít taky. Jsi děvka a musíš být potrestána. V jednu chvíli Oddellová sáhla pod postel pro falešnou zbraň, kterou jí Cottingham vyhrožoval, že je skutečná, a pokusila se s ní Cottinghama zastřelit. Když nevystřelila, Cottingham na ní přišel s nožem. Křičela. Výkřiky přivedli zaměstnance motelu do místnosti a přivolali policii. Cottingham byl zatčen na chodbě se zbraní v ruce. Když byl zatčen, měl u sebe pouta, kožený roubík, 2 otrokářské obojky, vystřelovací nůž, repliky pistolí a zásobu pilulek na předpis. Obvinění uvedená v obžalobě v Cottinghamu v New Jersey zahrnovala únos, pokus o vraždu, násilné napadení smrtící zbraní, přitěžující sexuální napadení ozbrojenou osobou, přitěžující sexuální napadení ozbrojenou osobou, sodomie, držení zbraně a držení kontrolovaných látek. V dubnu 1978, poté co jeho žena zahájila rozvodové řízení, udržoval zamčený pokoj v suterénním bytě domu, ve kterém žili v Lodi, New Jersey. Po jeho zatčení v roce 1980 našla policie v zamčené místnosti a v kufru jeho auta osobní věci, které vystopovala k několika jeho obětem. Cottingham tvrdí, že začal zabíjet jako dospívající a tvrdil, že zabil až 100 žen. Cottingham často vyhledával prostitutky ve věku od 14 do 20 let a má se za to, že zabil lidi na Floridě, Connecticutu, New Yorku, Pensylvánii, New Jersey a Baltimoru. Ke svým obětem se přibližoval v barech, omámil je, odvezl je na odlehlé místo a svázal je. Nasadil jim roubík, mučil a bodal je, než je zabil uškrcení nebo udušení. Sebral trofeje jako šperky a další osobní předměty patřící jeho obětem. Pravděpodobně kvůli stížení identifikace jim někdy usekl hlavu a ruce a vzal si součásti s sebou. Mezi jeho známé způsoby mučení patřilo silné kousání a škrábání bradavek, řezání kolem prsou a vyhrožování jim hračkou pistole a ponechání jim na dosah, aby se jí mohli pokusit chytit, ale zjistili, že je falešná. Také přiměl své oběti, aby mu říkali mistře. Odnesl si trofeje jako šperky a další osobní věci. Po zločinech vynaložil velké úsilí, aby je zakryl. Někdy těla ukryl na odlehlých místech, nebo je dokonce i z místností, ve které byly, zapálil. Byl odsouzen na doživotí bez možnosti podmínečného propuštění a všechny jeho vraždy ještě stále nejsou vyšetřeny a oběti identifikovány.
I wasn't a serial killer. No, you just told me you think he killed over 80. That fits the definition pretty well. No, it doesn't. But I know what you said, because you've told me in the past. There's been many more that you let go. Hundreds. Yeah. In other words, I didn't go out to kill somebody. Most anyone I killed was when I would be somehow connected to them. And I didn't want to get caught. It was more than just not getting caught.
I'm just thinking about myself.
What do you mean connected? Meaning like somebody might have seen her get
Well, like in
car or...
yeah, like in the Bergen Mall. You know, I walked around the mall. I walked the park, or walked out there into the parking lot. Anybody could sit in the car. To me, in my mind, I don't know if anybody's seen me. You know, that to me, you know, like I tell you, one time in Atlantic City, I met a girl in resorts. She went with me and I brought her back up here. In my mind, hey, I could get on a camera down there or whatever. So those were the ones I couldn't leave. But if the girl wasn't dangerous to me, I never went out to kill. That's why I didn't say, I said I'm not really like a standard serial killer. I didn't get no joy from anything. And that's the truth. Never had no joy. It was very hard.
So what was it for? Was it more rape? Control? Tying up?
It was the game. It was being able to get away with it. The stalking. To be able to do it was like the perfect murder every time. You see something in the paper, a body was trying to hit, you never heard of it because there was never nothing after that. You know, no cops ever came around me or stiffed around like you see on TV. It was getting away with it. And even a lot of times, it was control. But I mean, my husband didn't even have sex. Not a lot of times, sometimes. It was more, I used to say, the hardest, see, when I was doing the hookers, the hardest thing in the world is to be the hooker. I mean, be there. Right. The out hustlers, they are sharp. You don't understand that because you never was in the, if you would see New York City hookers in the 60s, they were sharp. And they would never do anything, ever, until you paid them first. I mean, it was like a religion. But I would get them so greedy by showing so much money. I would show them a wad like $1,000, $1,200. Their eyes would go crazy. And I always appeared innocent, naive, green. I played that act. Like I didn't know what I was doing, you know, I acted afraid around them, we're gonna get caught or all this stuff. So in their mind, they're gonna rob me. And it was the game to get, most times we went out drinking, I'd get them drinking, get them drunk, get them in a room, have all the sex, and I never paid them. And that was the majority of the thing, to beat them out of their money, because they were gonna try to beat me out of it. I mean, I had a case right here, right on Route 46. I had a girl in there. She was so greedy. She took she was naked from the waist up. She grabbed my pants and ran out of the room with my pants and left her shirt behind her. And she runs right into a guy next door. He opened his door, he heard the noise.
Thought she was stealing your wallet? Or stealing your cash?
She was.
Yeah.
She grabbed it. She got about $1,100 from me. So the only one that never got away. Got my money. Out of all of them. But she did, because I never thought she'd run out without clothes.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm pretending I'm drunk and I'm there and I'm laying there and everything. Man, she made a beeline for that fuck.
That's classic.
Oh, I can tell you stories.
I know you can. I know you can.
Chase. I also got a pimper's buddy too. And I can even tell you his nickname, Bucky. He came after me one time. I'm driving up 3rd Avenue and I'm listening to one of the girls that I beat out of her money. And all of a sudden a car pulls up next to me and the girl's pointing at me to him. So he starts chasing me. So I'm running down 3rd, I'm in the car, driving down 3rd Avenue, not knowing why, and he starts showing a gun. I almost passed. I mean, I never carried a gun. I got up to 34th Street and I got away from him. I went through red lights and everything. I come back to the same area where I picked her up. I see her with the same guy. So I'm watching her. See, I used to watch the cops. In fact, Linnell Taylor, if you ever talked to her, you know, we used to sit for hours watching the vice cops pick up all the vice girls, see how they do it, how they sit, one cop here, one cop here. We followed them all the way down to, one time they arrested her. They stopped in a deli to get all the girls, they wanted coffee, so they brought the girl there. I walked in the deli. Yeah, I'm going in. She's arrested now, right? And I'm trying to figure out how I can get her out of the deli, but you know, will the cops chase me, leave the other girls, whatever. We had some time. I mean, it was exciting.
I still don't know if we'll ever figure this one out.
Well, I think the only way is the record and the crime.
I swear last time we talked about this, Rich, that I
Douglas Daniel Clark byl americký sériový vrah a nekrofil. Clark a jeho komplic Carol Mary Bandiová byli kolektivně známí jako Sunset Strip Killers a byli zodpovědní za smrt nejméně 7 jednotlivců, ačkoliv jsou považováni za podezřelé ze smrti několika dalších žen a mladých dívek. Clark byl obviněn ze 6 vražd v Los Angeles a byl odsouzen v roce 1983. Clarkovy oběti byly typicky mladé prostitutky nebo dospívající uprchlíci a jeho oběti byly setnuty a jejich useknuté hlavy byly uchovávány jako mementa. On také prováděl sexuální akty na jejich mrtvolách. 5. srpna 1980 se Bandiová zúčastnila country vystoupení 45letého Australana Johna Roberta Murraye, jejího bývalého bytového manažera a milence. Po představení si Bandiová povídala s Murrayem a opilá mluvila o tom, co ona a Clark dělali. Murray byl znepokojen a naznačil, že by to mohl říct policii. Bandy pak nalákala Murrayho do jeho dodávky, aby měli sex. Jakmile byli uvnitř, zastřelila ho, bodla a usekla mu hlavu. Bandy po sobě zanechala různé stopy, včetně nábojnic v dodávce. O 2 dny později se Bandiová podvolila psychickému nátlaku a přiznala se svým spolupracovníkům, že Murrayho zabila. Zavolali policii a ona se ke svým a Clarkovým zločinům plně přiznala. Murrayova hlava nebyla nikdy nalezena. Clark a Bundy byli zatčeni a uvězněni 11. srpna 1980. Poté, co byla dvojice zatčena, byly vražedné zbraně nalezeny ukryté na Clarkově pracovišti. Bundy byla obviněna ze 2 vražd. K jejichž zabití se přiznala, že byla přítomna. Clark byl obviněn ze 6 vražd. V celém Clarkově případu, který začal v roce 1982, úmyslně způsoboval průtahy tím, že komplikoval a protahoval proces zneužíváním soudu ve svůj prospěch. Jeho chování zahrnovalo používání vulgárních jazyků a kladení nespočtu požadavků u soudu. Poté, co mu byl zpočátku odepřen, byl mu nakonec umožněn přístup do právnické knihovny na 2 hodiny denně, 7 dní v týdnu a pokračoval v zastupování sám sebe, přičemž měl právní zástupce jmenované soudem. Získal znalosti díky svému přístupu do právnické knihovny a použil je k formulaci požadavků, odvolání a sporů, které bylo třeba řešit, než mohl být případ uzavřen. Bandiová uzavřela dohodu o vině a trestu a na oplátku za její svědectví byla odsouzena k trestu odnětí svobody na 52 let až do životí. Bundy zemřela ve vězení na selhání srdce 9. prosince 2003 ve věku 61 let. Clark zemřel z blíže nespecifikovaných přirozených příčin ve zdravotnickém zařízení 11. října 2023 ve věku 75 let.
I was 32 when I was arrested, a happy-go-lucky bachelor, chasing skirts in LA, having a good time. I shared a condominium with a homicidal butch lesbian. She's a sadistic lesbian serial killer. It's not a novelty. There have been somewhere around 5 lesbian serial killers in the United States in the last 15 years. She's just one of them. She copycatted the Ted Bundy case. She killed her partner because they had had a falling out. We're not quite sure why, but on tape to a writer, Mark McNamara, she has stated that all of her reasons, prior stated reasons for killing Jack Murray, are false. She's taken the reason she killed him to her grave. We know the reason, we believe. The reason was they were out not only molesting a 11-year-old girl in his van, they admit all that, everybody knows that, but they were killing girls in that van. And if you've read the Head Press article, there's a 3-inch chunk of scalp with blonde hair attached found in the van. Okay, we know who killed these girls. Jack Murray and Carol Bundy killed these girls. She murdered him, she admits that, alone. She admits she decapitated him, stabbed him 26 times in the back or so, chopped off his head and took his head away. Oh, and slashed off his buttocks for good measure. She committed this crime while she shot him the first time. First of 2 shots, she says. Well, she had her tongue in his anus, called analunctus. These two claim, she claims these two had no relationship after January of 1980. Claims I was her lover after January of 1980. But we have her and the 11-year-old girl who testified about it in his van having 3-way sex in August 1st and 2nd. We have Carol with her tongue in his anus and shooting him in the head and cutting his head off August 4th. Yet they're not even related. They're no relationship, no friendship. We have letters from her that the widow gave up to the police saying she wanted him to be her lord and master. Well, come time when they're not getting along, for whatever reason it was, she whacked him in the same van they murdered the girls, most of the girls in. Some of the girls were killed in her cars as well. Blood evidence proved that. She could not testify or gain a deal for her life back when she was caught for his murder by testifying against him. You cannot in America testify against a dead man. It just doesn't work. So she was caught for his murder, and that's an interesting sidebar we have to get into. I was at home, and everybody admits it, the DA admits it, everybody admits it. I was at home in my bed. A go-go girl was in Carol's bed that was staying at the condo at the time. The go-go girl had an epileptic seizure in the middle of the night. Woke up, bit her tongue, blood running down her face. I woke up and called the paramedics. The paramedics in America bring the cops with them. The cops show up. Carol isn't around. Nobody knows where Carol is. There was my accidental alibi for the murder she was framing me for of Jack Murray himself. So when that fell apart, the cops came to get her on the 10th of August to question her about it. They were coming to arrest her for that murder on August 11th. That's all proved fact, documented, nobody argues with it. They were coming to arrest her for the murder, decapitation, butchery of her lover, John Murray, on August 11th in the morning. She beat him to the punch and confessed she was with Doug Clark, the serial murderer of the Sunset Slayer case. Carol Bundy's doing double life murder charges for murders she could not frame me for, Jack Murray's and Jane Doe 28 Kathy. The rest of the murders are all scripted right here on page 1 to 34 of this book by Bantam, a little cheap supermarket special that came out right after Ted Bundy was arrested. Wynn and Merrill are the authors. Carol wrote to us and told us to get this book. You'll find it very interesting. We have that letter, it's in court. We got the book, we read it, the dates are the same, June 1st, Georgianne Hawkins, Brenda Ball, June 1st, Ted Bundy murders her. I don't have this stuff handy because it's all been tampered with by the goddamn mailroom here. But June 1st, Ted Bundy murders Brenda Ball. June 1st, Carol Bundy says Marnette Comer died. It was actually May 31st, the night of May 31st, it appears. She lied about the date to match the book. June 11th, the next murder in the book, Ted Bundy murders Georgianne Hawkins. Next murder in this case, Carol says they tried to shoo away one girl that was standing with another girl to kill one. What half-wit killer drives up in broad daylight, noon on Sunset, she says, or whatever, shoos away a witness to the vehicle and the occupants of the car, picks up the other girl and kills her? You don't try to do that. The reason she tried to claim they were shooing away one girl and only wanted one murder on June 11th is because the book only called for one murder. But the next murder is a double murder. Does she say they tried to shoo away the second girl then? No. She claims they went to Hollywood, picked up X.E. Wilson, drove her all the way over the Hollywood Hills to Ventura, killed her, dropped off her body, decapitated it, took the head away. Drove all the way back to Hollywood, over the hills on a 2-lane little road, drive all the way over to Hollywood again, pick up her friend, murder her, Karen Jones, drive her body all the way over to NBC Studios, Warner Brother lots around in there, drop her body off. Mind you, going further from Hollywood towards the Burbank apartment that Carol had rented. She drives all the way back to Hollywood again to hunt for a third girl, she said, but couldn't find her. Where do we find this story? Find it right in here. Only we find the truth in the Ted. We find Carol Bundy doing the impossible. The times of the phone calls, the shots, the screams, and the tires, and the dogs barking, a la O.J. Simpson case, prove that it could not have happened that these two girls were both singly picked up and a third attempt made in this case. They had to be picked up together, taken over the hill, killed and dropped. But we couldn't understand why any of this was happening or how it was happening till we read the book. Ted Bundy went to Lake Sammamish, picked up one girl, broad daylight, took her away, murdered her and decapitated her, took her head away. That's Janice Ott. It's either Ott or Naslund. Janice Ott and Denise Naslund died that day. He picked them up one at a time at the park. He drove them away, decapitated one of them, which linked up to X.E. Wilson's decapitation in this case. Only one decapitation of a girl in this case, only one in the book. So he picks them up one at a time, takes them away and murders them, and goes back for a third right here in the book. But he fails. But what he doesn't fail to do is give him his name, Ted, and give him a description by visual witnesses seeing it of his car, a VW. The headlines become the Ted VW case. Carol can't show them the car, the van, or the vehicle, whatever she's using. It's too risky. She can't give them the accurate name, necessarily.
Did Carol Bundy have a relationship with Ted Bundy?
Yes, she wrote to him while he was on death row. She didn't want to admit it, but we busted her because the sheriffs were illegally copying her mail. Thank God for illegalities.
Her name was Carol Boone, wasn't it, at one time?
Carol Boone.
Now, can you just tell me about that?
We're going to finish this one segment because it's vital, because that ties in the double murder. Yeah, Carol Bundy told police, we'll get right back to that. On this triple murder decapitation, it double plus an attempt. The facts prove that she could not have gone back to Hollywood to make this attempt for a third. But then you stop and think, why would the killer go back to Hollywood to attempt to fail to match the book? Why attempt a failed kidnap? If you're not going to succeed, why bother? Just say you did it. So that got documented, and then we wondered why on August 11th, Carol Bundy said that they were driving around in the valley with X.E. Wilson's severed head in a wooden casket that she bought, her own volition. Her idea to cut the girls' heads off, she said, on tape. She says it was her idea to cut heads off, but there's only one cut off other than Jack's, and it matches the book. She's driving around, she says, in the valley with the killer. She says it's me. We say it's Jack. Whoever it is. She's driving around in the valley with a human head in a wooden box. Why? She says we were looking for the location of a prior murder of a girl, a hooker, to drop the head at the scene. Where do we find that? Ted Bundy dropped the head of Denise Naslund at the scene of a prior murder. The cops found too many heads, not enough bodies, too many bodies, not enough heads, right here in the script. What are the coincidences of this? The same victim chronologically is decapitated. The same victim's head's taken away. The same victim, she says, she was trying to find the murder scene of a prior victim. Same as the book. This is a Ted Bundy copycat murder case. Anybody that says otherwise, there's hundreds of these examples in this book. Jack Murray died the same day Carol Valenzuela died in the book. Carol talks about a massacre in a Mexican bar she was staging. Ted Bundy escaped from jail in Colorado, ran to Florida, committed a mass murder in a boarding house, Chi Omega. Committed his mass murder there, the only mass murder he committed. The rest were serial murders. There's a difference. He killed a 12-year-old girl in Florida. He got electrocuted for that one. Carol's talking about the 11-year-old girl she knows is 11, and she's calling her a delicious little 12-year-old on tape, on police tape. She knows she's 11. Why is she calling her 12? She's a future victim. It gets worse. I mean, just